Here we go then, episode 26 and the final episode of our first season back in the Premier League. Hello and welcome to my Football Manager 2017 save. So, people who watched the last video will have witnessed our 4-1 loss to Liverpool and our 0-0 draw to Everton. Now, I said realistically to finish in the top half, we needed 6 from 9 points up against Hull, Norwich and Swansea. And the main reason why I said that is because Norwich, Swansea and Hull are basically at the bottom of the table. It's pretty much set in stone now that Sunderland, Norwich and Swansea are all going to be going down. Very, very frustrated by the fact that twice, bottom of the league, only on 19 points, we've not managed to beat Swansea. So that's very, very disappointing. And we didn't manage to do it again, obviously. We beat Norwich 3-1, Gouffran getting 2 and Danny Graham getting 1. And we lost 1-0 to Hull, despite being the better side. And you're probably wondering, where's Andre Gray gone? He was fit again last episode. Well, he got injured again in training. So he's been out for 5 weeks. I was looking forward to him coming back. And unfortunately, he's injured again. He's got strained knee ligaments, so he's not going to feature again this season, which is a shame, really, because he's scored 16 goals for us in the Premier League. As we can see, even though he's practically only played for less than 3/4 of a season, he's still the 7th top goal scorer in the Premier League. So when you consider that he's got more goals than Jamie Vardy, Sanchez, Lukaku, it really does emphasise how much of an important player he has been this season for us. And it just makes me wonder, if he didn't get injured, maybe, just maybe, we would have been competing for 5th place. But my aim in the second half of the season was to ensure we get a top half finish. Obviously, going into this Premier League season, we wanted to just survive relegation. So the battle for 10th place is now between us, Newcastle, West Brom and Everton. Even if we win and West Brom win, they will then get 10th place because they've got a positive goal difference. So if we want to secure this top half finish, not that it will really make that much of a difference, but I'd like to finish 10th in the top half just to be able to say we got a top half finish in our first season back in the Premier League. So that would mean we kind of have to beat Man City, which is our next upcoming game. They finished 4th, which means that they managed to get Champions League football, and obviously that could become 3rd depending on whether they beat us and what happens with Spurs. So not going to be easy for us. Don't know whether or not we'll be able to guarantee 10th place, but all we can do is take on Man City at Ewood Park and hope we get something out of the game, because our end of the season has been abysmal. Welcome to Ewood Park, where the referees decided it's a good idea for both teams to wear blue. Last game of our season, first season back in the Premier League. And yeah, we're going to be going with something a little bit different, the 4-1-4-1. Mainly because I remember last time round we were really fortunate to get a 1-1 draw against Man City. And if it weren't really for the heroics of that man again, Andre Gray, we really would have struggled. So the reason why we're going for a 4-1-4-1, Lenihan is no longer a defensive midfielder, he's a halfback. That's because I think it's quite an important part of our game for fullbacks to get involved. So for that reason, he'll then drop back and be a little bit closer to our 2 centre-backs to make sure we don't get counter-attacked. And another reason for that is because our 4-4-2 really struggled last time out against Man City's 3 in midfield, Gundogan, Fernandinho and Vigo, who played really well the last time we played against each other. So just trying to get that extra man in midfield and go from there. We've also changed our wide playmakers to wingers, simply because I feel like there could be space to exploit behind Jordi Alba and Fabinho. Going to be pushing forward quite a lot, but I won't be surprised if I end up switching them back to wide playmakers later on in the game if it still seems like our 3 in midfield can't cope with their 3 in midfield. So we'll try and turn it into a 4 or 5 in midfield, right in the middle of the park, because of course our wide playmakers will cut in, that we've spoken about a gazillion times before. Team instruction wise, we're going to start off with a counter mentality. We've got a much lower tempo. I want the guys to take it easy. not rush things, because in this last real quarter of the season where we went through periods where players were out with injuries and stuff like that, we've conceded a lot of goals against these better sides where we've misplaced passes and stuff like that. And when you play the higher tempo, it increases a possibility that, that might become a problem. We've dropped our defensive line to deal with the pace that Man City have, and we've slightly increased our passing directness. But other than that, not much has really changed from our usual approach. I say that, we're playing a completely different formation, but let's see what happens. It looks like, Otamendi's already come off, and 15 minutes in, we're not doing too badly. Man City have a corner. De Bruyne, I forgot to show you guys opposition instructions, and can we counter-attack from here? That's the question. Lenihan plays a ball back to Dumic just before we... so opposition instructions, nothing out of the ordinary, going in hard on players who probably deserve it, like Gundogan and stuff like that. Them creative players you want to try and hurt and stop from really doing their thing. I'm really struggling to see who's us and who's Man City at the moment. But here we go. Not quite sure why my players are trying to play five-a-side, and Man City probably going to get a goal from this, and it's just like, well, we played them 3 passes at the back amongst each other, and then Steele just booted the ball straight to the Man City player. 18 minutes in, we've not really created much, but I don't think we really expected to create much at this point. It's just, again, another goal conceded. We weren't doing this in the first half of the season. Another dumb goal conceded from us misplacing a pass. And it's not the first time Jason Steele tries to hoof the ball out the back, and it results in that. So now the question is, what are we going to do to try and change things? I'm going to try and go to a standard mentality. We'll stop trying to retain possession and switch to a normal tempo, and let's have a bit more fight from the players and try and get stuck in a little bit more, because so far it's not really been good enough. One thing I might do as well is open up the league table so we can see whether or not we're in 10th place. The answer at the moment is no, we aren't. So we're not really bothered about the rest of the table. We're only really fussed about our little bit here. So yeah, we're currently 11th. A point really for us would be good enough at the moment to put us in 10th place. Tell them I'm not happy. And we wanted to be defensively resilient, but we've been far from that, I think, and we've, despite going for the extra midfielder, we've struggled to really create much. So for that reason, it's time to make changes. Right, we're not going to make any substitutions yet. Basically moved the 2 wingers forward, tried to make them inside forwards, and we're going to play this entire second half with an attacking mentality, because we need goals, and it means our fullbacks will start to get involved a little bit more. If our fullbacks can start getting involved in the space here, like Fabio's doing right now, you can see that it gives us an extra passing option in the final third of the pitch, and that was an unlucky ball whipped in from Fabio. But let's try and make this a little bit smaller. Again, downside of sending your fullbacks forward like this is that it does create room to be exploited. Let's demand more of the players and see what we can do. That's a good throw-in. Kajuro's going to pick the ball up and find... No, he's not. And now Man City are going to try and pounce. Suarez finds Aguero. Can we stop him? That's the question. The answer's no, but it's a good save from Steele for once. We have dropped into 12th place as well. Newcastle look like they're winning their game, which is going to put them in 10th place. And fair play to them, actually, because they got promoted from the Championship with us last season as well. So it's nice to see them and Rafa Benitez doing well. But our downfall, really, in this final bit of the season, I don't think it's surprising. I think it was always going to come. I predicted it at the start of the season, even before, I knew how well we were going to do, obviously. And I predicted it because I knew if we got injuries, that's offside. I knew that if we ended up with injuries, we just didn't have enough quality, enough depth in our side to deal with it. We were very fortunate in the first half of the season not to really fall victim to many injuries, which meant that we kept the players we brought in from the Premier League, like your McLeans, like your Andre Grays, your Gouffrans, etc., your Augustensons, the players that really make a difference relatively. We kept them in the side, but when we went through that period where it didn't help us that we had to play United, Spurs, Liverpool, etc. You know, all whilst these players were out injured, that didn't help us at all. So how do we change things now? We're going to bring on Damien Letalic for. In fact, I'm going to move Gouffran over here and bring on Letalic for Bennett and go from there. But yeah, we got that injury crisis, and then we essentially ended up playing a much below par team against some of the best teams in this league, and we were made to pay the price. Very poor cross there from Augustinsson. It's good that our fullbacks, though, are starting to get involved a little bit better, but it's going to be meaningless if we don't win the ball back here in midfield. That has been an issue for us. Not enough physicality in midfield. We got no money to spend in January as well. I knew that the injury problem was going to appear eventually, and it appeared for us in the second half of the season. And, well, we only signed one player for 250k, didn't we, in the summer? It was a young regen. Not in the summer, in January. Because, quite simply, our owners didn't give us any money to spend. But anyhow, let's throw the kitchen sink at them. Last game of the season. Let's see what we can do. And in terms of what I'm going to do in the summer, it really depends on how much money I get given. Oh, wow. Really good header from James McLean. Graham needs to whip this ball in. Who's there for it? He passes it to John Stones. But it's not really his fault. No one else ran into the box. And now Man City might counter-attack. But yeah, I don't know what we're going to do in the summer. I really don't. It's going to depend completely on how much money they give me. We've got a lot of players whose contracts are expiring. For example, Jason Lowe. I can't really. I don't know. There's 2-0. Nope. Who else's contracts expiring? Let's have a look. Elliot Ward. Yeah, Liam Feeney as well. So players that have really not even featured for us in. Players who have not really featured for us in the Premier League this season. Positively, it means we get their wages off the books. Negatively, it means that if they don't give me enough money to spend, we might end up being really short on players. But I don't want to keep players at the club who aren't going to be good enough for us going forward in the Premier League, of course, you know. So for a second then, I thought Steele was going to slide with that ball behind the line. Can we counter-attack, though? We do, of course. We already know who our first signing for next season is going to be. It's going to be Nabil Gilas, because the Algerian international, currently playing in Turkey. He's going to be our first signing coming in. To be honest, I kind of regret making that signing now, because it was kind of a signing we made for which was... It was a signing that made sense at the time, if that makes sense. Now, I feel like we should be aiming for slightly better players, but we're stuck with him coming in. So not much we can do there, really. Let's see if we can get a consolation goal. Sonogo comes on. He's picked the ball up. Needs to play this to Danny Graham. And that's just a dreadful shot. Dreadful shot. I mean, fair play to Sonogo for creating the opportunity. But that's why he's not Premier League standard. Who's that on a 5.7 as well? Danny Graham on a 5.7, finishing the season in style. And that's another thing about Danny Graham. He's really struggled when he's not had Andre Gray next to him this season. And there we go. An embarrassing defeat against Man City. Not happy. We unfortunately can't claim 10th place. What a downfall it has been for us in this second half of the season. Ever since, I think, roughly around... Let's have a look. Ever since the end of February, we've been dreadful. Only one win. One win in 11. That's relegation form, that. So when you consider up until that point, we were competing for a Europa League spot. It's been a very, very poor ending to the season. But again, we came into this first season back in the Premier League wanting to stay up, wanting to get 40 points. And if we had achieved 40 points, we would have stayed up. And we've achieved more than that. We've achieved 51. So aims for next season completely depends on how much money we get given. If we don't get given that much money, I don't know how much of an entertaining save this will then become. But all we can do is wait and see what happens. Thanks to my financial management, this is something I discussed in a previous video. We are now rich. Our finances claim we're rich because, you know, we're not spending that much on wages. We've not spent that much on transfers. We've gotten £16.73 million. But I'd like to see, hopefully, that 16 million reinvested for us to make the squad stronger in the summer. Which positions do you think we need to strengthen in the summer? Will we see a change of system? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. And I think it's fair to say that we've had a relatively successful first season back in the Premier League, as long as we forget this run of games. But until next season, I've been Kyanite. Thanks for everyone who followed both the Championship season and our first season back in the Premier League. Let's hope the next season will be maybe a little bit more special if we get given the cash. But until next time, thanks for watching. Board set initial budgets. The board have set the initial wage budget for the upcoming season. A transfer budget of £48 million.